Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. But first, I want to invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really helps us out, and we appreciate it. Anyway, we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Samurai Doggy, #1 from Aftershock Comics. Now, this book was nowhere near my radar. I guess I just skimmed over it during solicitations. I just skimmed over it during ordering. I just kind of skimmed over this book, didn't really give it much thought, and I had a lot of fun with this book. So it is written by Chris Rex with artwork by Santos. It is a $5 book, but it has a lot of awesome artwork, a really cool story, and really great production value, and it's quite hefty in page count as well. What it is it's about a young dog who, when the dog was a pup, his mother was killed and his siblings taken away, whisked away. And now he is older, and it starts with these tragic events, right? And now, like 20 years later, he's older, he's standing upright, and he is a samurai who is on the path to try to find his missing siblings. And it's a really cool story. There's really not much to it that we haven't seen already story-wise, but the artwork was fantastic. The use of energy and movement, it has... The fight scenes have impact because of it. The design layouts and composition on the page is absolutely splendid. I love the coloring. I love the setting. It's got a little bit of a sci-fi tinge to it, as well as being about a samurai doggy who's out trying to kill people and find his missing siblings. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was top-notch, one of the best Aftershock #1s I've read in quite a while. This was a primo awesome comic, and the pick of the week. From Marvel, we have Predator #1. Finally, they announced this book a long time ago. Apparently, there were some rights issues still tangled up. They've got it all sorted out. There's a new Predator movie, Prey, that's out right now. I'm hearing it's awesome. I'm excited to dive in and check that out. However, how about the Predator comic book? I really liked it. I thought it was solid. I wasn't expecting too much out of it. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson's Alien book is just fine, but it doesn't really quite grab me. It hasn't latched on to me. This was a really solid, perfectly crafted first issue. It introduces us to this new character, kind of like Samurai Doggy. A predator has come and attacked her in her home when she was young, killing her parents and all the other people she was with, and she's left with this like AI-driven ship, and she's out there. Well, she's been spending the rest of her life now training, becoming super badass, and now is hunting predators, trying to find the one who killed her family. That's a really cool premise to kind of wrap up a Predator story. The artwork by Kev Walker, I didn't think Kev Walker would be the right artist for this book, but it gets dark when it needs to, it's brutal when it needs to be, and it's able to carry on the nuance of the human emotion. I really liked Predator. I thought this was pretty freaking solid. Also from Marvel, we have X-Men Legends issue #1. This is a restart of X-Men Legends, where they're bringing in legendary creators to tell X-Men tales set in continuity in the past. So we kick it off with Roy Thomas doing, I think, a 2-part story here. Not too bad. It's Roy Thomas doing a story that takes place right after Hulk 181. What was Wolverine up to right after 181 and before we see him again in Giant Size X-Men? That's what Roy Thomas promises to deliver here. It's got pretty solid artwork. The artwork is by David Wachter. Not super familiar, but it gives us that nice kind of, oh no, it's not like a 70s vibe, but it is a little bit more of an old school approach to the action, to the line work. I really liked it. So you got some Hulk stuff, but then it goes into other kind of new territory. But I liked it. It was a nice, fun throwback. And usually when you bring in like an older creator, you know, like Roy Thomas, it's like, oh, it's not going to read very well. I thought this was actually pretty well scripted, and the dialogue didn't feel super dated or anything like that. Then we got Amazing Spider-Man issue 7. This book's been inconsistent. It's had its ups and its downs. This issue for me is an up. I really like this issue. It's really cool. So this one's being set up as being the start of this new Goblin Spidey or whatever. Norman Osborn has designed a new Spider-Man costume filled with goblin tech, including like a glider or something. That gets teased up in this issue. It hasn't fully come about yet. There's still more mystery going on than revelations, but I think that it's really starting to pull this together. Like, I really liked this issue. I thought it was really super solid. I thought the artwork was great. The last issue by Romita Jr., it felt very rushed, like a super deadline job. Here it feels like more time was taken. The coloring's actually getting a little bit better at the shape of Romita's figures. So I really liked this issue. I thought it had some cool, interesting subplot momentum things moving forward. I thought it had some interesting premises, and I really liked it. I liked the artwork. I thought it was solid. This book's been inconsistent, though, but I really like that issue. Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever is here. This is a one-shot written by Benjamin Percy. I dropped out of reading Ghost Rider, and I keep hearing from people that Ghost Rider's actually good. I should stick with it. Well, they got this one-shot. It's by Percy. I figured I'd check it out. This isn't too bad of a one-shot. What it is it's Johnny Blaze getting some tattoos, and every tattoo's recalling some memory. So you got a story set during Spirits of Vengeance. You got a story set during Midnight Suns. You got a story with the Western Ghost Rider. You got a story with Ghost Rider 2099. You got a story with Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. So it's just kind of a bunch of little short stories, little vignettes of the various Ghost Riders, probably setting it up so that people know which Ghost Rider is going to be used in whatever upcoming Ghost Rider things going on. I don't know. But it wasn't bad. It was pretty decent, to be honest with you. But it didn't completely win me over. But let me know in the comments below. You reading Ghost Rider? Should I get back on it? Should I get caught up? Then we've got X, Judgment Day, issue number 2. Avengers X-Men Eternals, the big Marvel crossover for the summer. Second issue. It's alright. Basically, the Eternals, or some of the Eternals, are trying to take out mutants. They reveal to the world that they have resurrection protocol, so all these people are feeling, I guess, betrayed by the mutants or something like that. Like they're just out in it for themselves, something like that. The Eternals, you got the Avengers kind of stuck in the middle. They're going to have to create a celestial god. Tony is tasked with creating a god that's going to tell all the Eternals to stop attacking the mutants and this and that. So it's a lot of battle, a lot of stuff going on, but I wasn't reading Eternals. I quit reading X-Men, and I quit reading Avengers, so I really don't care about this book. But I'm still going to read it. Why? Because it's the Marvel event, and I feel like I'm supposed to read this to let you know whether it's worth it or not. And so far, to me, it's kind of dull and boring, and I just don't really care. But that could be because I'm not plugged into the books that it's mostly kind of dealing with. Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals. Then we got Punisher, issue number 5. Another solid issue of Punisher. I'm really liking what Jason Aaron is doing with the character of Frank Castle. I really like the concept of him joining the Hand as their, like, murder god. I love the idea of Ares and his soldiers, his followers, kind of being this opposing force that Punisher used to belong to war. Now he belongs to the Hand. It's a different thing, assassination and war, right? So it's interesting seeing that kind of be explored through the character of Frank, and of course what's going on with his wife. Maria has been brought back by the Hand. That is the carrot dangling in front of Frank Castle to get him on board with working with the Hand, and he's kind of fed up with it, and he tries to act out a little bit in this one, so I liked it. I really like this book. I like the flashback stories. I like the modern day stories. I love the artwork. Jesus Saez, Paul Azaceta. I really like it. I really, really like this book. Thought it was super cool. Then we've got Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty. I'm like throwing books around. It's like a pizza pie. Anyway, Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, issue number 3. It's all right. It's not great, but it's not bad. I really like this idea that there's a conspiracy behind the symbolism of Captain America's shield. All the stripes, even the stars, the points on the stars, they represent something. It's this secret society. I kind of like that old school America secret society kind of thing. It's creeping up. It's interesting enough, but this book's getting bogged down by like narration that's just like, I don't care. There's something going on with Bucky who finds like a familiar Captain America character in here, and I'm like, this is way off. I don't want to see this. It's a dumb idea, but some parts of it are interesting, and the artwork's not too bad by Canero. I don't know. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's got some weird, silly bits. Then we got Venom, Lethal Protector, issue number 5. This is the final issue and the weakest issue of this series. What we've done here is we brought in David Michelinie to go back to the early 90s, the Lethal Protector era of Venom, and kind of play around in that for a little bit. And it's been big, dumb fun, or as we like to say around here, gigantic, moronic splendor. And it kind of has a dumb ending, and it kind of just falls flat. It could have had, if it would have just kind of stuck this ending a little bit better, this could have just been a good, gigantic, moronic, splendor type book. But Venom Lethal Protector issue 5, it's alright. It's alright. From DC Comics, we got DCeased, War of the Undead Gods, issue number 1 of 8. This is the big finale, the third act, if you will, of the DCeased saga. Tom Taylor does a great job of working with character, working with familiar concepts, but doing different things, kind of skirting around the zombie fiction tropes, but doing something different with it, but at the same time kind of rooted in things that we have come to expect. But in here, we're picking up where the last series left off. There is a new Earth. The heroes are trying to get back to normal. They have found a cure for the anti-life equation, which I guess would be the anti-death equation. They find the cure. They're starting to turn people. They decide, you know what? Maybe we need to go into the middle of the sun and find Superman and heal him. Right? So it's just mostly set up. There's also setting up some stuff with the new gods, because that's going to be the whole point here, is the new gods are now going to be coming to the new Earth where the deceased heroes live. Anyway, that's all just set up. This is mostly kind of like an emotional coda to the last series. So it was all right, but it didn't quite hit with the bang that most DCeased number 1s do. But it was good, and I'm excited to see how that develops. Then we got Dark Crisis, Worlds Without a Justice League, Green Lantern. This is a one-shot comic, so the death of the Justice League, we actually found out Pariah didn't kill them, but instead transported them to these worlds that he created that are worlds in and of these characters' selves and personalities. They represent their greatest dreams at this point, like in the Super America. I can't wait till we get Amalgam again. Maybe we'll get a Super America instead of Super Soldier. Anyway, in the Superman one, the idea was that Clark wants to be able to see Jonathan grow up. So that's the world he was living in, but there was also some teases to him that things weren't quite right. In this one, it's focused on John Stewart. He's living in a world where he gets to kind of rest from being a soldier and gets to build. He gets to be an architect. So that's kind of cool stuff. Philip Kennedy Johnson playing with some interesting things character-wise with John Stewart, but it didn't quite grab me. Like Superman 1 by Tom King, I actually thought was pretty well done. There's a backup story here with a Hawk Girl, and it's all right. It's all right. But this didn't get me as much as Superman 1. The emotional core wasn't quite there for me, but it was still decently fun and in no way essential to your understanding or enjoyment of Dark Crisis. So if you're digging that, you don't want to maybe spend the $5 on this, don't worry, you won't need to. It's fine. Save that money for the next Dark Crisis book. Then we got Jurassic League, issue number 4. Better yet, buy Samurai Doggy with that money. That's what I would say. So Jurassic League number 4 is here. We got Juan Gideon back on the art for a little bit. So there's a few pages by Gideon, but we also got John McKell here. But the art styles blend well together. It's more consistent with what the vibe artistically of this series has been. So the last issue, whereas I liked the art, it kind of interrupted the flow of the vibe and nature of this story. It's kind of back to that, so I'm liking it. It's the Justice League as dinosaurs. This ain't trying to do nothing but be gigantic, moronic splendor. And maybe sell some action figures. And it can make some really dope action figures. But at the end here, you get the revelation of the big Badasaurus. And it's pretty freaking awesome. Then we got Blood Syndicate Season 1, Issue number 4. There is so much going on here, and I really like the many layers of this story. It's the Milestone, Blood Syndicate. You got all these different factions, all these different agencies. You got all these different kind of things going on. And I'm starting to lose my place in it. So I think I need to sit back and maybe wait for this to collect, be all done, and then read it together, because I'm just kind of losing it. And it's not that I don't like it, but I'm finding it hard to make certain connections because so much is going on. I don't know if it feels as connected as it should, at least not for me. But Blood Syndicate is still something that I'm digging. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Deadliest Bouquet, issue number 1. This is a brand new series from Image, and It's all right. It's about these three sisters. Their mother has been murdered, but there's some kind of secret history with their mother where she's like a killer or a government agent or an assassin, something like that. The three sisters kind of know about it, but the three sisters also have their own personalities. They're distinct. They don't really quite get along, so they're trying to give us some information about the past and the history, but all in all, I didn't find any relatable character to kind of get compelled by, to get anchored with, so it didn't really do much for me. I mean, I've seen stuff like this before, but it didn't really move me. So I don't know. I thought the artwork was all right, the story was all right, but it didn't really do much for me. Then we got Love Everlasting, issue number 1. This is from Tom King and Elsa Chartier. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Maybe it's as simple as just Chartier. I don't know. Anyway, art is fantastic. Now, I am a fan of her art. She's got this kind of like, almost like a Darwin Cook kind of aesthetic, but I really like the use of heavy blacks, a really simple line, like almost an animated type feel. And it works for this book. And what this book is it's kind of like a tribute to old school romance comics, right? So it's about this woman and she meets a dude, she falls in love, and it goes through the cliches of one of those like 50s, 60s romance comics, right? She finally gets to the point where she finds true love, and then all of a sudden she's in another world, different reality, different setting, different story, different dude, and she barely remembers what happened before, and she starts the journey again, falling in love, and as soon as that love is hit, she moves. So it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but falling in love is the key that triggers starting over a new life or something. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. It kind of gets bogged down a little bit. It kind of feels like it runs its loop a few times too many before it kind of tries to deliver you the punch. So I think this could have been trimmed down and maybe would have had more of an impact. But as it is, it just feels like it kind of lulls down a little bit and just kind of repeats itself a few times until it wants us to get the point, when we've already gotten the point. Anyway, it's all right. And it's interesting and it bears watching. Then we got 8 Billion Genies, issue number 4. This book has been one of the big books of the summer. Hard to find some of the previous issues, but there are new printings of issue 2 and 3 out today as well, and I'm loving it. So this is issue 4 of 8. 8 Billion Genies is about a world in which all of a sudden, everybody on Earth gets a genie. You get one wish. The world goes to shit. It goes absolutely bonkers crazy. Giant robots in the sky, people becoming superheroes. This one kind of focuses in on that. And one of the things I like about this book so much by Charles Soule and Ryan Brown on the artwork is awesome in this book. There's lots of cool stuff. Really great effects for the coloring. The artwork is busy, but it doesn't ever feel cluttered and clunky. And I really like that. I appreciate being able to have grit and detail in there and not feel overwhelmed by it. But 8 Billion Genies, the structure of it is like the first book is like the first 8 minutes, and then the second book is like the first 8 days, and then this one is like the first 8, I don't know, this one's like the first 8 weeks or something, but it keeps showing the world progressively change, and there are a lot of revelations in this issue about what's going on, who certain mysterious characters are, how things are all related and connected to one another, and even a giant cool kind of tease into what's to come in this book. This is a book that started strong and continues that momentum, strengthening the engagement and compelling nature of this story. 8 Billion Genies, loving it. Then we got Starhenge, book 1, The Dragon and the Boar, issue number 2 by Liam Sharp. I liked this one a lot more than issue number 1. And I liked issue number 1. I liked the concept. It's kind of like a science fiction fantasy based on Arthurian lore where Merlin is actually some entity from the future that's been sent back to preserve magic through the years, because in the future, magic's no longer there, so they got to send Merlin back in time to set everything in place so that magic lives. And that's a cool concept. And at the core of it is the story of this woman and this quarterback, right? So that hasn't quite connected for me. And like the first issue, it's very information heavy. The first issue kind of read more like I don't know, like an RPG manual or something, where it was giving you the backstory of this world and all this kind of stuff. There are moments of that here, but it starts becoming a bit more cohesive. The artwork is just absolutely brilliant. It's telling a lot of the history, but it's not just telling us with words, though there are moments where it does get really bogged down like that but it's telling us with action, with characters doing things, and all aided by amazing artwork and doing different experimental things with the artwork. Liam Sharp, who's a veteran in this industry, is really stretching out artistically and creatively, and I am all here for it. So I think this is going to be something that will definitely reward patience, at least as an artifact of amazing art, and how you can combine that through different styles and innovation with an interesting story. So there you go. Then we got King Spawn, issue number 13, a great, gritty, brutal issue of Spawn, Raven Spawn versus Spawn, and I'm loving it. Al's getting deeper and deeper into this temptation to take the crown, to take the throne, to be the king of hell, but he keeps getting warned how that's going to mess everything up. He doesn't care. He's just after getting Wanda back, but he's not considering the ramifications, so I really like the work done with the character of Al Simmons, and I love the artwork here. It's not Javi Fernandez, but it is Thomas Notchlick, and it has grit, it has texture, it has a visceral, brutal nature to the artwork that is very fitting for this story. King Spawn, to me, has been a very consistently solid book, and to me, it's just getting better and better the deeper and deeper Al gets into this chaotic story. Loving it. Then we got A Town Called Terror, issue number 5. Feels like the penultimate issue. And for a moment, I was like, how is this going to wrap up in 6 issues? Well, issue 5 is a perfectly crafted penultimate issue to set everything up, to get us from where we were into the finale of this story. It's about this dude who is a supernatural being. His mother and his dad are supernatural beings. They live in a town called Terror. He has escaped this town. His mother has died. His father, who he doesn't have the best relationship with, has called him back. And with not so nice ulterior motives, but in this one you find out a lot about this dude's history, even some mystery that he didn't even know, and it's really perfectly set up for a big slam bang finale. The artwork by Szymon Kudranski is absolutely amazing, and this is some of the most powerful artwork of this series yet. I loved it. Just to give you a little, I gotta show you a really good page. I gotta show you a real good page. How about that? Just a nice big double page spread. We'll show you one more good page. How about that? Great use of color too, black and white and color. Man, I'm loving this book. Atmospheric. It's soupy in atmosphere, and it's like you can feel it. It's a tactile experience with that book. Mindset, issue number 2 from Zach Kaplan and John Pearson. I thought issue number 1 was really cool. It was kind of heavily verbose, but I thought it kind of fit with the art style, which is also trying to be innovative and do different things. And also the lettering is incredibly innovative. Is this Haas? It is Hassan Otsman El Hal, one of the best letterers out there. Mindset's really cool. So it's about these college students that somehow come across, while trying to make a phone app, across technology to have mind control, right? So in this one, even though the story in the first issue starts like at the end, now it's gone back and we're revealing what's going on. So we're finding out more about these characters, how they discovered this mind control, what they did with it, how they're testing it, and it's already starting to get a little bit out of hand. We're starting to see how certain characters were introduced to each other that, on the promise of the last issue, is going to become a major deal and where this story goes and how it develops. The artwork by Pearson is absolutely amazing, and one of the best parts of this book, it does look at top like it could be a little overly verbose, but that has all been cleared up for me here in the second issue. It flows with the artwork so well. The artwork's doing different things, doing experimental things. The way they're showing the way that this device works with certain panels where it just breaks it down like that. The lettering doing something really interesting. You got like translucent-esque word balloons and captions, and it's just a really cool, interesting visual experience. And the story is really intriguing as well. So Mindset, issue number 2, I really dug it. Then we got Redman, issue number 2. This is from Behemoth, soon to be Sumerian Comics. I loved it. This is like a big tribute to Ultraman. What if Ultraman was real? What if all the footage from Ultraman was actually captured by someone mysteriously? That's what it is. But so far, 2 issues in, what it really has just been a kaiju fight each issue with great artwork, telling a story, doing some interesting things with monsters and an Ultraman type character. This book's not trying to do more than what it set out to do, and what it set out to do is absolutely fantastic. I almost showed you the ending there. I love this artwork. I love the atmosphere. I think it's wild. Kaiju fans, Ultraman fans, if you're not reading this book, shame. This is way better than any of those Ultraman books that Marvel was doing. At least to me. Then we got Hellboy in the BPRD, 1957, Falling Sky. This is a really delightful, one-and-done, self-contained, one-shot story that if you just have never read Hellboy or you haven't read Hellboy in a while, this is a really good one to just jump in. It focuses in on this agent, this BPRD agent who's an expert in cryptozoology, and it shows a series of attempts to go along with Hellboy to try to find a cryptid that's never been found. He wants to discover it. He's been disappointed for like 10 years, 20 years. It just never happens. And then one night, after a UFO experience, he has the experience of his life. This was a really great book. Sean Martinbro's artwork was splendid. Lee Louridge's colorings were splendid. I would love to see more work from Louridge and Martinbro together doing Hellboy-centric stuff. This was a fantastic issue. And honestly, some of the last Hellboy shorts and miniseries and one-shots haven't really been doing it for me, so I was really pleased with that. Then we got Bill and Ted Roll the Dice, issue number 3. I got that NES game cover homage right there. So Bill and Ted, it's kind of like a direct sequel to Bogus Journey. They go back to hell. The devil's trying to get them now, forcing them to play a game, and the game is Dungeons and Dragons. So it's them in real life in hell with a whole cast of characters like Joan of Arc, Aleister Crowley, Dr. Feelgood. They're doing their own thing, playing D&D, but it's like kind of like on a real scale. It's almost like wizard chess. I love this book. James Asmus has a great handle on the voices of the characters and has a really great handle on the bouncy, fun nature of Bill and Ted. You know us here, we're huge Bill and Ted fans, and this book is scratching that itch like no other. Station. I love the hell out of that. From Dynamite, we got a new James Bond comic, 007 issue number 1, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Now, I thought that Philip Kennedy Johnson would be a really solid writer on James Bond, and I was not let down. This was a really great first chapter of a James Bond book. Now, the Dynamite series, they're less inspired by the movies, more inspired by the Ian Fleming novels. I've never read any of the novels, and that's really all I've heard, is that they're going into more of that kind of a vein, but I like this. It's interesting seeing some stuff about Bond's past. It's interesting how they're setting up this new mystery, this new case. I loved it. I thought it was great. I liked the artwork. There was a good flow. It's like simple line work, but it's deceptively simple because it's really good at storytelling. I thought this was a really solid comic. Then we have Elvira in Horrorland, issue number 3. Elvira is basically in Stay Tuned right now, but it's horror movies, right? So she's going through different horror movies. In the first issue, she's stuck in Psycho. She gets out of there. In the second issue, she's stuck in The Shining. And now in the third issue, she's stuck in Alien. So it's a tribute to Ridley Scott's Alien film. Elvira's there. It's fun. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's self-referencing. It's breaking the fourth wall, but it does it in that cute, kitschy, campy Elvira way. 100% amazing. David Avallone and the artist. Who is the artist? Is it Acosta? No, it's Silvia Calafiano. Absolutely fantastic artwork, really capturing the spirit of Elvira while maintaining a reverence to the films that they're attributing and referencing. So there you go. Elvira in Horrorland was awesome, like I thought it would be. Vampirella Fairy Tales. We also have Red Sonja Fairy Tales, 2 one-shot comics featuring the big two over at Dynamite, we can say, with Vampirella and Red Sonja, each kind of doing their own take on a fairy tale. On the Vampirella one, it's kind of like Little Red Riding Hood. It was alright. I found it to be a little simple, and I didn't really get into the artwork. Red Sonja was a bit better. This one's playing with Jack and the Beanstalk and actually kind of doing something interesting and fun and unique with it. This one just kind of goes right along with Little Red Riding Hood, but this one tried to do something different with Jack and the Beanstalk, with Red Sonja, and I liked it, and I thought it was pretty solid. Then we got There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd. I almost said Dodd. There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd, issue number 2. This is from Ed Brisson, Gavin Guidry, Aftershock Comics. When I picked this up, I was like, I don't really remember what happened in the first issue, so I was kind of nervous about how I'd feel about this, but I got right back into it. Yes, this is the one about the kid who can make people do things. He's like Drew Barrymore's dad in Firestarter, right? He's got the push, right? He can push people. He's been pushing people to rob banks for him so he can have the money to pay for a treatment or an operation for his sick, ailing mother. But in his hideout, he gets robbed, and this picks up after that. So you've got the FBI kind of coming after him and trying to piece things together. He's on the run. He doesn't have much anymore. It's a really interesting book, really solid artwork, a really cool way to tell the story, and a really cool setup for what's to come. Then we got Power Rangers issue number 22. I had been kind of getting a little dulled out, bored by the Power Rangers over the last few issues, but this one kind of tightened it right back up. All this stuff with the... Are they the Power Rangers in space or whatever? I don't know, but this Andros guy, all the stuff with him, what he's trying to do, what he's trying to set up, it all kind of erupts here and is bringing the books back together. So I did appreciate this. I thought it was cool. It kind of popped my interest back up. The one thing, though, about these Power Ranger books is they'll do that, and then they just kind of linger around for a while, but then they build it right back up. So this was one of those really upticking issues of Power Rangers, building up into issue 100. I'm excited to see what they're going to do there, and if they can keep my attention afterwards. Then we've got Archer and Armstrong Forever, issue number 4. This was probably the weaker issue of the series yet, but it also does result in an interesting new status quo for Archer and Armstrong, and I'm excited to see how that develops, at least into the next issue. But this book's been fun. It knows exactly what it's trying to do with these characters, and it's just trying to have fun, and it's got a little bit of charm to it, right? So if you're an old school fan of Archer and Armstrong, you haven't checked one out in a while, even if you've always been interested to try out Archer and Armstrong, you can probably jump right in here with issue 1 of this Forever series and just jump right along. It's been pretty fun. It's not going to change your life, but it's pretty cool. Then we got The Killock, the Artisan Wraith, issue number 6. This was meant to be a 7-issue series, but I guess now it's just 6, because this is the last issue, but it's $7.99, and it's 2 comic books. This is 2 comic books put together. I don't know why they did that, but I thought it was all right. To be honest, the Artisan Wraith wasn't as good as the original Killock series. I did like it, though. It was maintaining some of that emotional connection, and then it kind of lost it a little bit, and it was hard for me to get back into it. There's some interesting concepts, and this is setting up a book 3 in the Killock world, and I'm excited to see where that would go, but there's just some poor lettering choices that, especially on certain pages that get rather verbose, it makes it hard to read and kind of removes the right kind of pace and impact that the book needs, I think. So it was all right, but kind of a disappointing ending. It was a cool ending and a cool setup, but the execution just kind of a little bit wonky and inconsistent. So that's what I read. That's what I was thinking about it. Samurai Doggy blew me away. I was actually surprised by Predator. X-Men Legends ain't too bad. Roy Thomas still has them in him. An Up issue of Spider-Man. I thought that was cool. Judgment Day, I mean, we'll see. Punisher's still good. DCeased is cool. King Spawn is awesome. 8 Billion Genies maintained. Starhenge has got some really cool concepts. Beautiful artwork. Redman. Hellboy, his name was Bill and Ted Station 007, Elvira, all that and more. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. But we really appreciate all the support in the community, everything that you do. We wouldn't be here without you, so thank you so much for watching this video. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station, pop, pop, boom!